my parents said. "We don't want you at the wedding, you'll just ruin the photos." I smiled and left. A week later, when they needed my help with the venue, I should have seen it coming. My parents never wasted an opportunity to remind me that I was the black sheep of the family. My sister, Jessica, was their golden child, the one who could do no wrong, the one they paraded around like some kind of trophy. I, on the other hand, was the unwanted afterthought. Too quiet, too awkward, too much of a disappointment. But still, I didn't think they'd go this far. When Jessica's wedding was announced, I wasn't exactly surprised by how extravagant it was going to be. A grand ballroom, a designer dress, a guest list filled with socialites and distant relatives who only appeared for events like these. My parents had been bragging about it for months, throwing around phrases like once in a lifetime and a wedding to remember. I figured I'd be invited, if only out of obligation. I didn't expect a warm welcome, but I thought I'd at least be allowed to show up, sit in the back, and watch from the sidelines. I was wrong. "We don't want you at the wedding," my mother said, her voice coated in false sweetness. "You'll just ruin the photos." I stared at her, waiting for her to laugh, to tell me it was a joke. But she didn't. My father sat beside her, arms crossed, nodding like this was the most reasonable thing in the world. Jessica was there too, smirking, not even bothering to hide how much she enjoyed this moment. I felt something tighten in my chest, but I forced a smile. "Okay," I said simply. That was it. No argument. No begging. No asking why. I just smiled, stood up, and walked away. And that's what really got to them. Because they wanted me to fight, to plead, to make a scene so they could feel justified in treating me like an embarrassment. But I didn't give them the satisfaction. I left as if their words meant nothing to me, as if their rejection didn't sting like a knife to the gut. I went home that night and sat in silence, staring at the wall. I told myself I didn't care. That it didn't matter. That I was used to this. But it mattered. And it hurt. Little did I know, they'd come crawling back soon enough. Because exactly 1 week later, their perfect wedding plans came crashing down. It started with a phone call. I was in the middle of making dinner when my phone buzzed on the counter. I glanced at the screen. My mother. I let it ring. Then came another call. And another. I watched the phone vibrate across the counter, my mother's name flashing again and again. After the 5th call, curiosity got the better of me. I picked up, keeping my voice casual. "Hello? Oh, thank God," my mother gasped. "We have a huge problem." I raised an eyebrow. "Really? I thought everything was perfect." She ignored my jab. "The venue. It's gone." That got my attention. "Gone?" "They called us this morning. Some kind of water damage, flooding. They had to shut it down for repairs." I bit back a laugh. The prestigious, high-society venue they had bragged about for months. The one they had probably paid a fortune for? Ruined? It almost felt too perfect. "Wow," I said, pretending to sound concerned. "That's tough." My mother exhaled sharply. "We don't have time for this, okay? The wedding is in 3 days. We need a new venue immediately. Why are you telling me?" Silence. And then, the part she really didn't want to say out loud. "Because we need your help." I leaned against the counter, enjoying the moment. "My help? You know people," she said quickly. "You have connections. You can find something." It was true. Through my work, I had built a solid network of contacts, including event coordinators, property managers, people who could pull strings in situations like this. They knew me as reliable, someone who could solve problems fast. I could help. But why should I? Just a week ago, they told me I wasn't good enough to be part of their event. That I'd ruin their precious photos. But now, suddenly, I was important. I let the silence drag on long enough for her to start panicking. "Listen," she said, her voice lowering. "I know things got a little heated before. But this is your sister's wedding. Don't you want to help her?" I almost laughed. They didn't want me at the wedding because I was an embarrassment. But when their own incompetence put them in a crisis, I was suddenly useful. I had them right where I wanted them. So I smiled. And I said, "Of course. I'd love to help." If they thought I was going to make things easy for them, they had no idea what was coming. The second I hung up, I started making calls. Not to help them, of course. No, I had something much better in mind. I knew exactly what kind of venue my parents and sister wanted, something grand, elegant, with high ceilings and glittering chandeliers. A place where the guests could sip expensive champagne and pretend they were more important than they actually were. So naturally, I found the opposite. I spent the next few hours tracking down the worst possible venues I could find while still keeping up the illusion of helping. Some were rundown community centers with stained carpets and flickering lights. Others were warehouses that technically hosted events but mostly held boxing matches or flea markets. Then I found the one. An old, dimly lit banquet hall on the outskirts of town. It hadn't been updated since the late 80s, and it looked like it. Peeling wallpaper, hideous neon signs, and a suspicious smell that no one could quite place. It was the kind of place where you'd expect to see a cheap buffet and a handful of people half-heartedly doing the chicken dance. And the best part? It was available. With a little charm, I convinced the owner to hold the venue under my name. He was more than happy to accommodate as long as the deposit came in fast. By the time my mother called me again for an update, I was more than ready. I found a venue, I said, keeping my voice smooth and professional. It's perfect. Oh, thank God, she breathed. Where is it? I gave her the name and address. There was a pause on the line. That doesn't sound familiar. It's a hidden gem, I assured her. Very exclusive. Not a lot of people know about it, but trust me, this place will make Jessica's wedding stand out. I could almost hear the satisfaction in her voice. That was all she needed to hear. We'll check it out first thing in the morning, she said, relieved. Thank you for doing this. I smirked. Anything for family. She had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I arrived at the venue early. I wanted a front row seat to their reactions. I stood outside the aging banquet hall, watching as my parents' sleek black SUV pulled into the parking lot. My mother stepped out first, adjusting her designer coat, followed by my father, who already looked annoyed. Then came Jessica, in oversized sunglasses, acting like she was stepping onto a movie set. They took one look at the building and froze. The faded sign above the entrance buzzed faintly, flickering between Grand Celebration Hall and half-burned-out letters that made it read more like Grand Cel Radon Hall. The parking lot had a few stray weeds poking through the cracks, and the windows were covered in tacky gold curtains that barely hid the dim lighting inside. My mother turned to me slowly. This is the venue. I kept my face neutral. Yep. Isn't it perfect? Jessica tore off her sunglasses. Are you kidding? What? I asked, feigning innocence. It's got everything. A dance floor, catering, plenty of space. And it was available on short notice. That's rare. My father muttered something under his breath, rubbing his temples. We can't have a wedding here, my mother hissed. This place looks like it hosts bingo nights. I sighed dramatically. Well, you did ask for my help last minute. This is the best I could do on such short notice. If only I'd been included in the planning earlier. I trailed off, shrugging. Jessica spun toward me. This isn't funny. My wedding is in 2 days. Do you have any idea how important this is? I stared at her, my smile never fading. Oh, trust me, I said. I know exactly how important it is. Their panic was just beginning. Jessica was seething. She turned in circles, taking in every detail, the cracked pavement, the dented doorframe, the cheap plastic marquee sign out front. The whole place screamed discount event space, and she looked like she was about to faint. We can't use this place, she snapped, as if saying it out loud would magically make a better venue appear. My mother was already on her phone, desperately dialing numbers. I knew exactly what she was doing, calling every venue in town, hoping for a miracle. I waited patiently, watching as one by one, her attempts failed. Fully booked, she muttered under her breath. She dialed again. Also booked. Another call. Closed for renovations. I cleared my throat. I did mention that finding a replacement venue at the last minute would be difficult. Jessica turned on me. Why would you even suggest this dump? I put on my best reasonable face. I was just trying to help. Jessica let out a frustrated screech, stomping toward our mother like a spoiled child. We have to fix this. I will not have my wedding in some strip mall reception hall. That's when my father finally spoke up, his voice low and tense. We don't have a choice. Everyone froze. My mother blinked at him, horrified. What? He sighed heavily, rubbing his forehead. The caterers, the decorators, the guests, it's all set for this weekend. We can't move everything at the last minute. There's nowhere else available. Either we go with this, or there's no wedding. Jessica looked like he just suggested throwing her dream wedding in a gas station parking lot. You can't be serious! But the look on my father's face told her that, oh yes, he absolutely was. My mother, still desperate, tried one last plea. Maybe we could. We can't. My father cut in. This is it. And just like that, their perfect, high society wedding was officially ruined. I had never enjoyed anything more in my life. Jessica was unraveling before my eyes. Her hands were balled into fists, her breathing sharp and uneven. No, she said, shaking her head like she could physically reject the situation. I am not having my wedding here. I'd rather cancel. My father's jaw tightened. Do you have any idea how much money has already been spent? Jessica whirled on him. Do you have any idea how much this matters? My wedding was supposed to be elegant. Classy. Not. She waved her arms at the building. This. My mother looked close to tears. We have to find another option. I folded my arms, tilting my head. Well, unless you know of a secret high-end venue that happens to be open on short notice, I don't see how. Jessica whipped her head toward me. This is your fault. I raised an eyebrow. Oh? If you had actually helped, you would have found something better. She was in full meltdown mode now, stomping her feet like a petulant child. You sabotaged this. I let out a low chuckle. You think I caused a flood at your venue? Jessica opened her mouth, then snapped it shut. She was so blinded by her rage that she had no real argument, just pure, entitled fury. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get better, my mother broke. This isn't helping, she snapped, rubbing her temples. The only option we have is to use this place and make the best of it. Jessica gasped as if she'd been personally betrayed. You want me to get married here? It's either this or no wedding at all. My father's voice was clipped, firm. Jessica's face contorted. You can't be serious. But my mother just sighed, exhausted. I don't want to be, but we're out of time. We have guests flying in, catering already paid for, and deposits we can't get back. We can't cancel. Jessica's face was turning an impressive shade of red. And then she screamed. Not a word. Not a phrase. Just a high-pitched, frustrated scream that echoed through the parking lot. A couple walking past actually stopped to stare. My mother pinched the bridge of her nose. Jessica, please. Jessica turned away, pacing in furious circles, mumbling to herself about how this was a nightmare. I thought she might actually pass out from the sheer force of her tantrum. And I just smiled. Because for the first time in my life, they were the ones panicking. And I was the one in control. Jessica's tantrum stretched on for several long, glorious minutes. She paced, ranted, and gestured wildly at the building as if sheer indignation could make it disappear. My parents stood stiffly beside her, completely out of solutions. I leaned against my car, arms crossed, watching the scene like a spectator at a play. Finally, my father, always the practical one, had enough. Jessica, that's enough, he said, his voice cold. The wedding is happening here. End of discussion. Jessica spun around, her eyes wide with betrayal. How can you do this to me? My father let out a slow, heavy breath. Because we don't have another option. And frankly, I'm not throwing away thousands of dollars just because you don't like the curtains. Jessica's mouth opened and closed. She looked at my mother, expecting support, but for once, my mother looked defeated. I don't like it either, she murmured. But what else can we do? Jessica's shoulders slumped, her rage giving way to horror. It was settling in. This wasn't just a temporary setback. This was reality. She was going to have her once-in-a-lifetime wedding, in a rundown banquet hall with buzzing fluorescent lights and suspiciously sticky floors. I could practically see her soul leaving her body. I can't believe this, she whispered. I can't get married in a place like this. Well, I said, pushing off my car. You could always elope. Jessica turned to glare at me with so much hatred I thought she might actually lunge. You did this on purpose, she hissed. I tilted my head. What makes you say that? She pointed an accusing finger at me. You could have found something better. You wanted this to happen. You wanted to ruin my wedding. I raised my hands in mock innocence. Now hold on. You told me I wasn't even invited. Remember? I wasn't supposed to be part of this at all. I let that sink in before adding. And yet, here I am. Helping. Jessica let out a strangled sound of frustration. My mother turned to me, her expression tight. Can you, at least try to fix this? Fix it? I repeated. You mean the way I fixed your venue problem? She hesitated. I saw it then, the realization creeping into her eyes. I wasn't their problem solver anymore. I wasn't their safety net. For once, I was the one with the upper hand. I smiled. I already did everything I could. You're welcome. And with that, I turned and walked away, leaving them standing in the shadow of their perfect wedding disaster. I didn't stick around for the rest of the meltdown. I had already won, and dragging it out would have been overkill. Instead, I left them standing in the parking lot of their dream wedding turned nightmare, drove home, and treated myself to a nice dinner. For the next 2 days, I heard nothing. No calls. No texts. Which only meant one thing: damage control was in full swing. I could imagine it perfectly. My mother scrambling to make the venue presentable, Jessica flipping between denial and rage, and my father, the ever-practical one, trying to keep costs down while Jessica threw tantrum after tantrum. And sure enough, when the wedding day arrived, I got the confirmation I'd been waiting for. A message from my cousin Mark, who had also been slighted by the family over the years. Mark, dude. I just got to the wedding. It's worse than I thought. I grinned and typed back. Me, tell me everything. Mark wasted no time. Mark, okay, first of all, the place smells weird. Like a mix of cleaning chemicals and old carpet. The wallpaper is peeling, and they're trying to hide it with fake flowers, but it just makes it look worse. Mark, also, the dance floor is just a bunch of mismatched tiles. I think one of them is loose. A guest almost tripped already. I nearly choked on my coffee from laughter. Me, oh, this is beautiful. Mark, oh, I'm not done. You know how they wanted this big elegant lighting set up? Me, yeah? Mark, they couldn't get it. The ceiling is too low, so they had to settle for a couple of dim chandeliers and some random string lights. It looks like a high school prom from 1997. I leaned back, enjoying every second of this. But then came the best part. Mark, oh my God! The event next door just started. You're not gonna believe this. Me, try me. Mark, it's a kid's birthday party. And they have a clown. I lost it. I could just imagine it. Jessica, in her pristine white dress, posing for photos while in the background, a rainbow-wigged clown twisted balloon animals for screaming children. This wasn't just a minor inconvenience anymore. This was full-blown, poetic ruin. And I wasn't even there to see it. But oh, I wasn't about to miss the fallout. As much as I would have loved to witness Jessica's meltdown in real time, I knew it was only a matter of time before the aftermath reached me. And sure enough, my phone rang. I didn't even have to check the caller ID. I let it ring twice, just long enough to make her sweat, before answering. Jessica. I greeted, my voice calm, almost bored. The response was pure, unfiltered rage. You. She started, but whatever she was about to scream next turned into an incoherent shriek. I pulled the phone slightly away from my ear. Having fun? Fun? She shrieked, her voice so high-pitched it could shatter glass. Are you serious? My wedding is a disaster. I bit back a laugh. What happened? You know what happened? She snapped. This place is awful. The lights are dim, the floor is sticky, the food looks cheap. And there's a clown. A clown, in the middle of my wedding photos. That one sent me over the edge. I barely managed to suppress my laughter. Oh no, I said, voice dripping with mock sympathy. That's terrible. You think this is funny? I composed myself. Not at all. I lied. I just don't see how I'm responsible for a clown crashing your wedding. She made a sound that was somewhere between a sob and a growl. You did this on purpose. I gasped. Jessica. That's an awful thing to say. You picked this place knowing it was garbage. I let out a thoughtful hum. Well, you didn't exactly give me much time to find something better. There was a long silence on the other end. I could hear her realizing it, the fact that she had backed herself into a corner. That no matter what she said, she had been the one who needed my help. And this was what she got. Jessica's voice dropped to a low, dangerous whisper. You ruined my wedding. I smiled. Oh no, Jessica. I didn't ruin anything. And then, just like they had done to me, I hung up. For once in my life, I got the last word. I expected more calls. More texts. Some last-ditch effort to pin the entire disaster on me. But after I hung up, my phone stayed silent. Maybe Jessica had finally realized there was nothing she could do. Maybe my parents had told her to quit throwing a tantrum and just deal with it. Or maybe, just maybe, she was too humiliated to keep fighting. Either way, I enjoyed the peace. That night, I got one final update from Mark. Mark, she cried through most of the reception. Your mom kept trying to comfort her, but your dad just looked like he wanted to leave. Me and the clown? Mark, oh, he stuck around. At one point, he accidentally wandered into their family photos. You should have seen Jessica's face. I grinned. Perfect. I knew this wouldn't change how my family saw me. Jessica would always believe she deserved better. My parents would find some way to justify it. And in their minds I would still be the black sheep, the problem. But for the first time, they had to feel what it was like. To be dismissed. To be treated as an afterthought. To have something important ruined by someone who didn't care. And that was enough for me. The next morning, I woke up to one last text from my mother. Mom, Jessica is very upset. I hope you're happy. I read it twice. Then, without responding, I smiled. Just like I had when they told me I wasn't good enough to be in their perfect little wedding. Just like I had when I walked away. Because for the first time in my life, I won.